Kim, Patty, Karen, Chris, you all know me. I'm Pat. Live in Rochester, New York. Run Survival the Fitness on the side. Work at IT 50 hours a week. So I really like to get out there and do fun things, hike, bike, kayak, backpack, things like that. Liz, my fiance, should be popping in here shortly. She also lives in Rochester. She's downstairs. I'm upstairs right now. And then joining us today is Chris Casado from TSX Challenge. I did my first guided backpacking trip. Normally, I'm the guy that's doing the guiding, and I did my first backpacking trip with him in September, late September, early October, out in Tippity Valley, Northern California. And I was just really, I mean, it was a life-changing event. It was very difficult. I've climbed Mount Rainier and things like that, and that was right up there in the top couple, but was really, logistics were all handled. The water got filtered for us. The food was really good. Um, and so wanted to kind of look into the opportunity of doing another trip with Chris. And also I've never been to the Grand Canyon before, so I wanted to kind of tap into Chris's expertise and get out there and do that. So like I said, I only have about 30 minutes on the free version of Zoom, so I'm going to kind of really quick, if you guys would be interested, just do a quick intro and then I'll let Chris take the screen and start us off. I guess I'll pass it over to Patty and Kim.
What am I? I'm sorry, I just walked in the room. What am I supposed to be
Oh,
doing?
you don't have to go into your whole dating profile. Just say like, Patty, Kim, we like, we live in, wherever, and we like.
Okay. This is Kim. This is Kim. We live in we went to Chicago after Buffalo. Chicago was fantastic. Now we're in Virginia where it's nice and warm. But Pat, I heard all those stories about the hike up Rainier, and Patty, and I heard about when you got down and Patty didn't have any place for you to stay at the inn. I thought that was a Jesus story, but it was good. Love you, buddy. I just
Love
wanted
you
to
too. Glad you're on here, Kim. Awesome.
But Patty said Rainier was fantastic.
It was
the hardest hike she ever took.
And you have to carry your if you go to the bathroom, you have to carry it off the mountain, which is always a fun time too. So yeah, glad you're here, Kim.
Should I say something?
Yeah.
Hi, Patty Jackson, and Kim just kind of filled in. We're just curious as to what this little adventure is and the time period, because I have very limited days I can take off, so I don't know if it's even possible. So
Well, we have some flexibility, so we can talk about dates, and Chris will tell us what we can and can't do. Awesome. How about Karen, real quick?
I'm from Spencerport, New York. I'm pretty close to where Pat and Liz live, and I'm just last couple of years I've been retired, so I have a little bit more time. And I've always wanted to travel to the Grand Canyon, so I'm interested.
Awesome. Liz, I already did kind of do a quick intro, but if you want to fill a little bit more in, feel free.
Sure. Hi, I'm Liz. I also did the Tippity Valley trip with Chris, and it was definitely one of the most challenging, but also one of the most rewarding and just awesome things I've ever done. And yeah, I really enjoy hiking with good groups of cool people. So nice to meet all of you.
Awesome. How about Jennifer?
Oh, hi. I was also on the Tehipite trip with Pat and Liz and Chris. And the Grand Canyon's been on my bucket list for several years. So I'm really interested in this trip.
Awesome. And Christine?
Hi, my name is Christine. I'm from Long Island, and I've done the Grand Canyon with Chris before, and it was the best experience I've ever had. So I'm really looking forward to doing another one. It was so much fun.
Awesome. Yeah, glad you're here. And I see a PNR who I don't know. Did you want to do a quick intro? It looks like they're connecting to video. Chris, in the interest of time, why don't we have you just jump right in?
I'm here to thanks, Pat, for just bringing everyone together. It's nice to see Jen, that you're back here as well. Yeah, I wasn't sure to ever see Jen again after the Tiffany trip, but that's awesome. And Liz, nice to see you again, and Pat and Christine. It's awesome to see so many people that have hiked with us in the past, and thanks, Pat, for pulling this together. Pat came to me with the idea that he has this group out kind of in the greater New York area, I guess is the best way to position it, right? And that he helps bring people together to do challenging things and train and be in the outdoors. And he came out to Tipity, and when he came out, we brainstormed some ideas. We talked about the Grand Canyon and the Escalante route in particular, which is a little bit spicy. So Christine did the Grand Canyon trip with us on kind of our standard Grand Canyon, 3-night, 4-day loop. This is also like a 3-night, 4-day loop, but I'd say it's a little bit more challenging. Not to scare anyone off, but I think that's the way Pat likes it. He likes to push himself a little bit. And this is just kind of the right level. We've had all different ages.
Video or not?
Hey, PNR, are you there? You good? There they are.
Yep.
Hey,
Nice to see you guys.
nice to see you too.
Technical difficulties.
All good. So I was going to share like a little bit about, and I guess in 15-20 minutes, just what is the Escalante route. And I sent Pat a recording of it, so we can share that later afterwards, and I'll give you some of the highlights right now and then take some questions. I think Pat was kind of looking at September, October timeframe. And in my mind, actually I had kind of penciled in like October 12th to 15th to see if that may or may not work. That's flexible based on what you guys are looking for. That's the timeframe. We could go earlier in September also, but kind of that late September, early or mid-October timeframe.
Question?
Go ahead.
I thought October in the canyon, you could get snow and everything.
Great question. So actually the best time to backpack at the Grand Canyon is typically mid-March to mid-May, and then late September to early October, to early November. October is probably the best and most popular month to backpack the Grand Canyon.
Great, thank you. I've been up there and I got snowed out at one point in Flagstaff. That's why I asked the question.
I've had snow in May. I've had 90-degree weather in March, and likewise in the fall. So like I would say the best way to characterize weather in the Grand Canyon is volatile, but your best opportunity for backpacking is kind of these the spring and fall shoulder seasons right there.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Pat, let me know. Do I have the ability to share a screen?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think you have it disabled. Try one more time. Got it. Let's see here. Tell me if that one worked.
Yep.
Cool.
Got it.
This is Pat's info. Awesome shots of him. Do you want to say anything about this, Pat, or it's up to you?
Yeah, obviously you can see the photos. I love getting out there. Like I said earlier, got some Mount Rainier, got some ice climbing, got some Mount Washington. I think that other one is Mount Washington too, but just really like to get outside, get away from my desk, things like that. Had a really good experience with Chris, so happy to have the opportunity to get out to the Grand Canyon with him.
Yeah, I can safely say nothing is as crazy as the ice climbing picture that he is there. So on our trips, that's pretty awesome. And this is another shot of Pat. Looks like moving around quite a bit around New York. How many more people do you have now? Just 12, or are you cracking them up now?
I think I got like 14, 16. I have a 7-year-old daughter, so it's cut into my adventure time a bit. But anyways, here a couple photos from the Tipity Valley trip. Like just these photos were amazing. It was definitely type 2 fun. So it was a little bit of a struggle when we were out there, but looking back on it, like a truly life-changing experience. So yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you, like Pat's all about underselling. I've been backpacking for about 30 years, give or take. I've done all kinds of routes. We've been leading these trips since 2011. The trip that Pat and Liz and Jen were on was arguably one of the top 3 most challenging trips I've ever had. And that was probably just due to the weather and the rough trail, and just like we got some cold. It was a challenge. It was a mental challenge more so than anything, but everyone got through it. And I would also say everything we do with TSX is a team effort. And so as a team, we were able to make this happen. This is just, if I had to describe the Escalante route in a few words, it would be like this. This is the Escalante route. This is humbling. This is like a narrow slot canyon you hike through. It's pretty diverse, like varied terrain and trail. Challenging is, TSX challenge is in their name here. So in a good way. I would say it's inspiring. I'm not sure who asked the question. It was Kim or Pat, or it hopefully, it's not like this when we're dropping in, but we did have a trip. It was like late March of last year where we dropped in with breaking snow on the trail in the Grand Canyon. It was incredible. Most of the times it's more like this though, just this epic views as you're dropping through. This is actually on the Escalante route. And as you round the corner, you get a view back. Some of the widest parts of the entire canyon are back here. Looking, you can see just miles and miles down, and the Escalante route is kind of unique like this. I'd also say Teeling. This is the very first trip I ever did a backpacking trip with my wife. So she had, we have 3 kids. We don't spend a lot of time backpacking together. She had done one backpacking trip 10 years ago, and then she came out and did this with me. And we had like this private, secluded beach. This is the second night on the trip at Escalante Beach. So that is kind of like the Escalante route in a nutshell. This is kind of how it fits together. Coming down on the right-hand side, this is the Tanner Trail that drops down about 7 or 8 miles into the river. Make your way along the Escalante route for 2 days, and then we're going to come up something called the New Hands Trail. The New Hands Trail is unique in itself. It's a pretty burly trail. It just kind of goes up. This guy who created it is super creative. That's kind of, I'll give you a couple of shots back. This is a quick shot of me. First time backpacking was in the Sierra back in the early 90s. We started TSX in 2011. I've been hooked in backpacking the Grand Canyon since 2014. Shot my 3 kids. I'm going to skip over this kind of quick since we don't have a lot of time here. This is kind of the background on TSX. This is the route that Christine, you did with us, kind of where we started TSX. Right now we have about 11 trips, but we started the Grand Canyon 2014, 2015. This is the first route we did in the Grand Canyon. Our goal is to inspire people that no matter your age, background, shape, or size, you can do anything you put your mind to, including sleeping at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. This was like awesome route. We take, again, just a shot of the pictures, and Christine was actually out here on this route. This is Hermit's Rest. But all different ages, all different sizes, all different backgrounds. I've even had my kids out there. And so we try and make this accessible for more people. And I'm glad that you guys are on the call, and hopefully we can make this work for you guys as well. Just about where we operate for TSX, we started the Grand Canyon Challenge in 2015, kind of the closer to the corridor sections, but on the Hermit Bright Angel Loop. Escalante route was added back in 2020. We have something called the Confluence, Jump Up Canyon, Thunder River, and we have a new trip that we do called the Rim to Rim Extreme Challenge. So basically, I would say we're actually one of the fastest growing organizations in the Grand Canyon. We have about 6 different routes out there. We do everything that's not traditional. So things are a little bit more spicy and pushing a little harder way, different direction. Questions about TSX background?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Question, do we have to bring snowshoes and stuff?
No need for snowshoes. Everything that you would need from that respect, we'll take care of. So if we do need microspikes, I don't anticipate that happening. Usually the bigger challenge, late September, mid-October, is heat still. That's our #1 challenge. But if we do need microspikes, we'll provide that for you.
Thank you.
Good question. More questions? All right, I'm gonna jam through this in like 5 minutes then. And if I talk too fast, let me know. Stop me, jump in. I'm gonna assume you guys know where the Grand Canyon is, but just a little bit more background. Here it is in Arizona. I'm in California right now. If you take this Grand Canyon from the bird's eye view, it's like 277 river miles long. If you kind of stretch that squiggly line out, 18 miles wide and about 1 mile deep. So this is your ephemeride of like what we're playing with in the Grand Canyon. North Rim and South Rim is kind of how people define the Grand Canyon. The Escalante route is in the South Rim, kind of on the eastern side. If you've been to the Grand Canyon, and how many of you have, I'm guessing, been to the Grand Canyon? No? Wow, man. This is the way to go to the Grand Canyon if you've never been. Trust me. But most people go to the South Rim, and very few people make it into the canyon. But when you think about backpacking the Grand Canyon, there's kind of 3 layers. The top layer is called the rim. You can kind of see it there. Then about 2/3 of the way down is something called the Tonto platform. And then the last 1,000 feet is the inner gorge. And you can see it like 1,000 feet all the way down to the river, and then all the way across to the far edges of the rim. It's some of the most incredible views you have are actually below the rim. Where most people go backpacking, when you think about hiking the Grand Canyon, if you have friends who've done rim to rim and stuff like that, they do something on the corridor trails. And the corridor trails are like these 3 main trails that go into the canyon. There's regular water, regular access to like tents and services, or awnings and services. A kind of easier way to go backpacking. If you go down there, there's bridges. You can actually coordinate it and get a nice meal at a something called Phantom Ranch, which is at the bottom, kind of like a lodge at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. This is what kind of like the tent sites look like when you're on these like corridor trails. As you get farther away from like the main Grand Canyon village and the corridor trails, They call these other trails threshold and primitive trails, and they're harder to reach, harder to access, less reliable access to water. And this is kind of where we spend most of our time. And these are just a few of the trails that are out there. And as these ones pop up on the right-hand side here, you see Newhants and Tanner. Those are going to be the two trails that we're going to be using for the Escalante route. And then the Tanqueep and South Canyon. All of these are rim to river trails that start on the rim and kind of end at the river. And then they have something called routes. And routes is like this third category of trails in the Grand Canyon. They're not considered trails because they either aren't deliberately constructed or they're not like, you can't identify it on the map. And that is the Escalante route. That's what we're talking about here. Some it's a little bit different. So these rim to river trails connect from the rim down to the river. And we're going to be on the Escalante route that goes kind of from left to right or east to west across the river. So hopefully that was some coordinate, some like perspective of where we are, how we're getting there. What does the trail look like, or why is it a route? Well, there are sections like this. These are boulder sections. There's one section on the second day. It takes a little bit of time to kind of work your way through it. There's something called the Papago Wall, which is like a 35-foot wall that you have to kind of scramble up. We're really good about getting people on this, but it's pretty thrilling experience. There's ledges and kind of footholds. We work together as a team. And then there's something called the Papago Slide, which is like this rock slide where we have to kind of navigate our way down about 200 feet. And then there's this other element, which it requires a little bit of route finding. If you're out there with a guide, really not a problem at all, someone like us. But if you're out there on your own, definitely takes a little bit of extra skill and like patience and knowledge to make sure you're on the right route at all times. I would say there are moments where you're gonna be exhausted like this. This is after the Papago Slide. We had a group that was coming down and they're like, they were pooped, they were done resting. But this gentleman who's in the forefront, he left us a great review, and I love this review. It goes kind of to what Pat was saying about his experience, is that hopefully, this is going to change your perspective of like what you can do and push you in a good way. And that's what we're all about. It's like challenging ourselves, trying to make something happen. All three of the people in this picture actually did the Escalante route, and we were so excited. They all made it through. They loved it. Two of them have come back. One of them has not. So cool. Questions on the route?
So the difference for this one, Chris, that's when you say it's challenging, it's just more the terrain than anything else, right?
Terrain's a little more rugged. I'll add, I think I'm on the slide a little bit later, but there's no reliable access to water on this route other than the Colorado River. So the Colorado River is our primary source of water, which means we have to make it to the river the first night to get water.
Okay.
Carry a lot in. So it's just like the logistics and the packing is a little bit more challenging and complicated. It's also a through hike technically. So there's no like, we have to kind of leave a car here, pick our car up, and we come out at a different spot. So
Okay.
it's logistics challenging as well.
And what's the elevation on that? The foot of
It's their elevation, it's start of the rim, go to the river. They're all a mile down, a mile up. There's about 1,500-foot climb in between, which I think I might have on here. Great question. Hopefully that answers your question, Christine. I'm going to go through this, Pat, in like 2 minutes, and like I'm going to let you open right for more questions. I'm just going to talk about, if you join a trip with us, we try and make it really easy to get started. So if you need a backpack, sleeping bag, or tent, we'll provide it for you. If you have your own, totally welcome to bring it. We take care of the permits. We usually book our permits about 4 to 5 months in advance. So if we pencil in a date, it could move plus or minus a day, give or take, up until about 4 months in advance once we actually secure the permits. In order for us to actually get a permit, we have to actually have people signed up, ready to go. So that's kind of why we're doing this trip now, having this talk now for October. Take care of food. I'm not going to say a ton about all this. Safety we'll kind of take care of. Water is a big challenge. This is one of the campsites that we use down there on Escalante Beach. One of the questions I think was about weather. And so you can kind of see here's your ideal time to hike, kind of your 70s to 80s in March and April. This is at the bottom, and kind of late September to November. Again, kind of the best time to hike. This is a little bit about safety. And I think I'll maybe pause it here after this slide. I'm happy to spend more time on it, but this is an elevation profile. So I think this answers your questions, Christine. The blue dots represent kind of our target campsites each night. And you can kind of see the first night. I'd say one thing that's unique about the Escalante route is you spend a lot of time hiking along or near the river. a little bit unique because I know in Christine's trip, we popped down to the river for like a couple hours and we were kind of back
Yeah.
up. Here, we're going to be hiking along the river and camping like 3 nights along the river, which is pretty awesome.
That's cool.
Cool. I'll pause there for questions. This is the rest is just a snapshot of what you might expect to see on the Escalante route. I can go through it quickly. You let me know how you want to take this here, Pat.
I'm surprised that everybody's smiling.
This is the hotel pickup. That's why.
Oh, okay, okay.
Beforehand.
Mileage wise, Chris, how does the breakdown work? Are there like super long days, or are they a little bit shorter than the trip we were on?
The first day is always the most challenging, and it's the downhill. It's really difficult to prepare yourself for like 7 or 8 miles of like intense downhill on a rugged trail. The first 2.5 miles are really challenging, and then it kind of mellows out for the next 3 miles, and then the next mile is challenging, and then after that it's 2 or 3 miles that's more moderate. So 7 miles, roughly speaking, the first day, about another 8 miles the second day. The third day is only about 4 or 5 miles, I think, because it's a little bit shorter, and the last day, kind of the balance on the way up, probably about 5 or 6 miles. So nothing more than like 7 or 8 miles. The first day is typically the longest. But it will take us about 7 to 9 hours to do that first day of hiking. That's kind of on trail time from start to camp. This is a little bit of that first day. Just going to tap through these things real quick. No, I'm not going to talk over them, just so you guys can get a taste for the trail. If Pat's feeling it, he'll bring some extra drinks for us down there at the bottom. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, maybe.
This is Tanner Rapids. This is kind of the first night campsite. Some other as we're hiking along, this is Cardenas Beach, one of the break spots we had. We took a quick dip. This was a shot from late September, I believe. If I'm going too fast, you let me know. I'm just going to kind of tab through here. This is, there is some narrow sections of trail. This is on the second day, kind of there's a 1,500-foot climb on the second day and then back down to the river again. But you end up with these incredible views. And eventually make your way down to Escalante Beach. And again, this is one of my favorite places, probably one of my favorite campsites in the entire Grand Canyon. This is 75 Mile Creek. We actually walked to the back of this slot-like canyon, drop in at the back of it. And then we walk straight down the canyon and come back down through it. It looks a little bit like this. Here's kind of the more challenging, this is a challenging section of the route on the third day. We kind of pick our way along the ridge line. Eventually we're making our way to the Papago Wall, which is kind of circled here. And if I were to zoom into this Papago Wall, it looks a little bit like this. And this is our route. We take it really close together. As you get closer, this is what the same route looks like. So this is the actual route. So it doesn't look as bad once you're on top of it. But if you've never done something like this, we go slow as a team and it can be kind of thrilling. I'm going to skip the video for the moment, but you kind of see, might be a little choppy. He's coming up. If you're not comfortable doing something like this with a pack on, the guides or myself, whoever's leading the trip, leave your pack at the bottom. We'll run it up and down. We take care of it for you. We do this all the time. So some people feel more confident without the pack doing this. And then eventually you make your way to the slide. So you go up this Papago Wall, down the slide. The slide looks like this. There is a trail kind of cut through there. And we go really slow, keeping everyone kind of on the same plane as we're going down to avoid any rock slide. And this is what it might look like in certain sections on the way down. But then again, we're making our way to our third campsite near Hance Rapids. Sometimes we camp a little bit farther up in Red Canyon. And just incredible views the whole time. Like it's hard to describe the canyon until you're actually out there. This is the view from the campsite on the third night. And again, this trip has had an incredibly positive impact on me and our family and lots of people in our community. And I'm really excited to extend it to this crew out in up in Northern New York or Western New York, wherever you all over the place. Yeah. So Pat, I'm going to turn over to you for a moment. Let me know where you want to take it from there.
No, I think you hit on all the key points here. Hopefully people are excited. I know I am. I watched your recording before this and I was already hyped, and now this is just making me more hyped. And just to reiterate, like, why I think this is so cool is because, well, one, I mean, I have all the gear. Liz has a lot of the gear. I'm sure everybody here has a lot of the gear. But it is nice that Chris has access to all the gear, not boots and things, but packs and tents and sleeping bags and things, which, you know, is very convenient to not have to lug that across the country on a plane. So when we went out and did Hippity Valley, that was an awesome, awesome part. You eat very well. I mean, I haven't been on this trip, but I know we ate very well on the California trip. So that was super cool. And then, you know, it is a really good team effort. We had a couple of, you know, long days and difficult days on the California trip, and we all kind of banded together and got through it. And I thought Chris and Wyatt did an awesome job of leading us. So yeah, I'm super excited. And just from survival the fitness side, I will be holding some training, both like skills training that we might need out on the trail, but also some physical training to get everybody prepared physically for that. It looks like we're running out of time based on the pop-up that just came up, but
Minutes. You're golden. We gotta slow down, man. Just relax now.
and
We can let you get through.
and Chris, I think you also do some virtual training type things, general outdoor stuff leading up to your trips, right? Too. So those would be available as well, right?
Yeah, we host online events for kind of the general public to consume, both on outdoor topics like backpacking and food and safety and routes. And they're really ways just to kind of build community, and it'd be awesome. They're just like this we have here, open-ended, easy for people to join, ask questions, and get yourself prepared for an experience like this back for a lifetime. So I would say one thing about logistics is the way that logistics work is typically people fly into Flagstaff or come into Flagstaff the night before the trip. We do a pack check the evening before the trip around 6 p.m. at the hotel that we use. And then from the hotel, we pick you up in the morning, usually a pretty early, like 5 a.m. pickup type of time, out to the trailhead, about 2-hour drive to the Grand Canyon. Generally speaking, on the trail between 7 and 8 a.m. And it's a long hike down. The final day, we're usually off the trail between 12 and 2 p.m. And then back to the hotel. If you want to fly out on the final day, it is typically okay to book a flight anytime after like 4:30. We can make that happen. Or you can stay another day in the Grand Canyon in Flagstaff if that works for you.
Awesome. So we'll open it up to questions, but obviously I recorded this session, so I'll share it with all of you. I'll share it to people that couldn't attend tonight, and I'm sure questions will pop up even after we're done here. So I'll provide Chris's information. You have my information. We can, you know, tag team any questions you guys have too. But yeah, let's open it up to some questions if you guys have some.
I have a question, just knowing, you know, I've been to the Grand Canyon once, but only in the real touristy parts. And one of the things I really loved about the Tehipite trip was how few people we saw and how it felt like we had, you know, the whole place to ourselves. What I know, you know, you said these are, you know, harder to access. Do you generally see a lot of other hikers out there, or is it?
We will see
as-
more people than Tehipite.
Yeah.
Tehipite is like no one knows about it even exists. So I think we saw 2 people out there the whole time, right? Roughly. But here we'll probably see probably about a dozen people, you know. There'll be people, we'll see them for other people the first day, not too many people the second or third day. Probably not many people the last day either. I'd say like a handful of people. Not too many. Yeah.
Chris, I have a question. When you say the first day, the first couple miles are going to be challenging in what way? As far as a lot of rock that you're trying to climb over, or?
It's a sharp, steep descent. So the descent is about it's just like it's a rugged trail. So there's lots of rocks, lots of kind of steps down as you go. And most people are very cautious on the way down. And that's a good thing. Like you just want to take your time and to get down, especially your pack is the heaviest, your legs are the freshest, your legs are kind of new to the Grand Canyon. And so, you know, just making sure you're balanced and not missing your step or twisting an ankle or just think like people just go a little slower. In the Grand Canyon scheme of things, it is the most like challenging like sections. Like if you had like ski, double black diamond type stuff. This is on the black diamond, to double black, like it's a harder route to get down. We've had all kinds of people do it, but we just take our time. People go a little slower. Does that answer your question?
It
Yeah.
does. It definitely does. Well, you're just saying that it was more challenging, and I'm like, well, what makes it challenging? It's steep or
Steep
rocky
and
or
rocky. The trail is like, and trails is kind of like a loose term in the Grand Canyon, especially some of these routes. I would say even the New Hance route, the last day coming out, is it's really creative. That's the best way I could say it.
All right, to follow up on that question, how do we gauge our abilities? We've never been out there. You're saying it's challenging. We're pretty physically fit.
Yeah.
As we're thinking about it, how do you gauge the abilities of people you take out there?
Well, there's a little bit of a self-selection process. Anyone who's joined something called Survival of the Fittest or TSX Challenge already has this mentality that they're ready to like push themselves a little differently, and we like that. We do take all different people, and I've had my wife. She blew me away that she could do this. To be honest, like she did awesome. Having that core cardio fitness is really important just to start with. And then people who like to go hiking or go backpacking, like the biggest way if you want to prepare yourself is like training with a pack. So I'm not sure if I'm sorry, the name again.
Paul?
Oh,
Paul?
Paul and
well,
Rhonda.
Paul and Rhonda. Sorry.
Yeah, Paul, I'm not sure if you're a backpacker or a hiker, but the extent you have to throw in a backpack and do some training with the pack on, that's really important.
Okay.
Treat this like you're training for an event. So, you want to increase the intensity of your workouts, put it on the calendar, make sure you're hitting your calendar and like building up for it. And that way, when you get there, you're ready to go. Jen, one benefit for you is that the elevation goes down. And so, unlike the Sierra where the elevation goes up on the first day, here we start around 7,000 feet and then we work our way down to about 2,500, roughly speaking. So it's an inner positive. It does get warmer as we go down as well. So we might start in the room at 35 degrees in the morning, and by the time we get to the bottom, it's 80 degrees and we're swimming. So it has that kind of variability.
And Paul, just to throw this out there too, we will train in Rochester area. So there'll be opportunities to get out there. I'll bring sandbags. You can load up your pack. We'll track how much our weight is. We'll weigh it every time and kind of gradually work our way up to what we expect to carry, which Chris is probably 35 pounds-ish.
Our target for the Grand Canyon is 25 to 30. It would really depend on the weather. If it's a warm, if we're expecting kind of a warm start, we're going to carry like 4+ liters of water per person, and that will impact the weight. Generally speaking, it's 3 to 4 liters of weight. If it's really warm, I'm going to carry like an extra gallon. I might have Pat carry an extra gallon. Like we're going to have like plenty of water out there. That's one of the biggest variables. We may even cache some water if we need to, if we're really expecting the heat. So
Do we need bear cans?
no bear cans. So, and the pack weights, again, for the Grand Canyon, typically 25 to 30 pounds, fully loaded. Generally, you don't need as much winter gear or warm weather gear. So you can get by with a little bit less.
And Chris, if this is anything like the Hippity Valley, we'll do a shakedown, right? We'll empty our packs. You'll take a look through. Even myself, an experienced backpacker, Chris was like, do you need these 3 pairs of boxers, leave 2 and take 1? And, just so like, we can cut a little weight too. And we go through everybody's pack before we head out to the trail. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a quick perspective, I've never backpacked before until I went to the TSX Challenge. I'm physically fit. I do hike, the Adirondacks a lot. I did the 46ers, but this was my first ever backpacking, and TSX was amazing. It was really was. I mean, it was a 30-pound backpack. Never did it before, but the training and the experience of Chris and his crew it's really an experience. It's really fun. And my girlfriend never even hiked before, and she came, and it was great.
How many guides do you usually take with you on a trip like this?
We'll have up to 2 guides. So if we have 9 people on the trip, we'll have 2 guides. If we have 5 or 6, we'll have 1 guide. Usually around 7 is 7 to 1 is kind of the max we can go with guide. Once we get 8 or 9, we go to 2 guides.
So when do you have?
It's funny that you mentioned, should we bring bear spray?
No bear cans.
I mean, bear cans. Do you guys run into like a lot of wildlife that you need to be concerned with along the way? That
the biggest thing you'd be concerned with would be rattlesnakes, typically, and that's closer to the water. And oftentimes they see you before you see them, and so it's less of a concern. there are scorpions out there. Not really much of a concern as long as you just don't bother them. They don't bother you type thing. So not too many things. Heat is definitely the number one issue we have out there. I know we have a minute left. I think someone's going to ask about pricing or stuff like that, or when to sign up. I was going to say, so we're encouraging people to sign up by the 30th of January, if you guys are interested, if that works for you. And right now, if this is like a large group, I think on our Escalante route pricing, we have like tiered pricing for like people who sign up with the group. You guys would qualify for like the lowest tier. So it would be like $200 off whatever the list price is from there. I can send you a specific link to sign up, or Pat can send you a specific link to sign up afterwards. I'll sync up with him and make sure he gets the communications out. We'd love to have you guys sign up. If you can join by the 30th, then we kind of know we have a group, and we can always add people if we need to, up to 9 participants. And it'd be awesome to have this group out. So
Awesome.
Quick
go ahead, Paul.
question. Pat, you said
Yeah.
you're gonna put this on video. Thank you. Thank you very much. That was my first question. My second question was, we didn't talk about food. How much do we have